Hey guys, this is part one about talking about hoppers. Back in the beginning, when paintball started out, guys used these guns that looked like a pistol that had a tube up on top of the barrel. The tube held about 10 paintballs. Every time they wanted to shoot, they had a little deal on the bottom. They had to cock it back, and then kind of like a shotgun, and cock that back, open everything up. They might have to move the gun up and down to get a paintball to fall down the chamber, then cock it forward, and then they could shoot. This is the way everything started out. The paintball guns at the time held 12-gram CO2 cartridges, which got them about 25 shots, roughly. Then they decided, well, hey, this is great and everything, but we want to carry more paintballs on here. If we get about 25 shots, then shouldn't we be able to carry 25 paintballs? So they came up with the idea of sticking an elbow, not a full 90 degrees, but about maybe 45-degree elbow on there. A little piece of plastic usually went on the end of that tube, and another tube, and so it would hold between 20 and 30 paintballs. Now every time they went out there and go shoot, they held all those paintballs, and they could, just cock it back and forth. They'd have to still keep doing it, but all at once. Wouldn't have to reload every time. From there, next step came up with bulk loaders, and there's all sorts of many different designs out there of how people came up with them. But pretty much last design is very similar to this right here. This is your basic hopper. These hold roughly 200 paintballs. Most of the rest of the hoppers, which you'll see on the other ones I'm going to show you, they have a lid on here that's got a little pivot hinge, and all it does is go like this. This one is missing its lid, but it was kind of a little bit different in the fact that it was supposed to be a little bit more durable. It didn't break as easily as those. But it had the lid that came on here and a piece of plastic that was attached to it that went here over this little button. You pop it open, and it generally only opened about this far, which isn't that easy to go on and put paintballs in. But then, because of this tab right here, you'd spin it out of your way, load your paintballs, then you'd close it. Okay, pretty cheap, pretty easy to find. They're roughly $5. You can find them just about everywhere. The biggest disadvantage on them is that paintballs get caught up right in here in the feed neck, and you have to stop when you're shooting and shake it, rattle it around to get them to feed back in there. Okay. From there, everything goes up, if you will. But before I start getting into the other stuff, I'll show you this. These came out probably about 10, 15 years ago, and then lost popularity. Never really all that popular. Everybody wanted to carry more paint, and this carried less. Only about 40 paintballs. But they've resurged in popularity in probably the last 5 or so years, especially the guys who shoot a pump gun. Similar concept of having to pump it back, paintball drops in, pump it forward, and shoot. This just means they carry 40 paintballs in here, so they don't have to, they don't have to keep carrying little 10-round tubes all the time. They don't carry a really big hopper. It just carries enough for them. Usually enough for a game. They tend to take more time to aim than just going pop, 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 and shooting and shooting and shooting a lot. So you'll find ones similar to this, but they're going to be a little bit more rounded, as opposed to this more of a rectangular, triangular shape. A little bit more rounded, goes down in the front. Sometimes they have a little fin, makes them look cool. They only hold about 40 paintballs. From here, your next step up is this. This is the Revolution. This is based off the VL200, the VL2000, which came out a long time ago. Okay, this was taking advantage of this hopper, which held close to 200 paintballs. They still hold between 180 and 200 paintballs. I've heard up and down both ways. But it added batteries and a circuit board and a little motor, and with the motor inside, little arms inside there, and then a brake beam sensor. Okay, so in this case, what happened? You're shooting, and instead of it bunching up the paintballs and you having to shake it, there's brake beam sensor. Sensor's on this side. It shoots off invisible light. As soon as this gets over to here, like say there's 1/10 of a second that it's showing or more, then it tells this there's paintballs jammed up. You need to spin. Turns the motor on, and these arms spin, just like that. Put my finger in here, that simulates paintball being in place, so it's not spinning when you're shooting. Boom, there you go. These were really great. The original ones, the VL2000s, used an 18-volt motor, so 2 9-volt batteries. As soon as you turned it on, it started draining power, draining power, draining power. This one uses a 12-volt motor, so it can power the motor at full speed for a lot faster. There's another variation. There's 2 variations on this. There's the Quantum one, where they're just, instead of having the little arms like that, it's got a little squiggly thing in there, and you turn it on, it just stays on. It just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. The other one's the Reloader, Reloader A. instead of having this sensor right here, it uses a sound sensor. Every time you take a shot, it turns those arms, and it moves the paintballs around so they go down in there. From here, you step up to this, called kind of a semi-force feed hopper. Now, the Ricochet was the original hopper. Tippmann's got their own, and this is the Spyder Fasta. The three main ones you're going to find. These hold roughly 230 paintballs in them. And as you can see, it's got those same little arms and whatnot in there. The biggest difference is this is recessed. It's dropped down. So not only does this spin, actually there's two main differences. Not only does this spin, but because it's dropped down, it'll actually push the paintballs down into here, forcing your paintballs down into your paintball gun. The other thing though about it is unlike the really higher end ones, if you took this and turned it upside down, yeah, I know what you're thinking, why would I turn my hopper upside down? But whatever reason, if it happens, all your paintballs are going to come rushing right back out into the main body. The higher end paintball hoppers, specifically the Halos and the Reloaders and stuff, they will actually give you 1 to 2, maybe 3 shots as they push those paintballs down into the chamber, into your firing chamber to shoot. The other big difference is this uses a bend sensor. I don't know if you can see this, but inside here there's a little strip of plastic that goes down in here. So instead of actually having a sensor, a brake beam sensor or sound sensor, every time a paintball goes past it, it flicks that piece of plastic. When the piece of plastic gets flicked, it causes the motor, which is every time it causes the motor to turn on and spin and move the paintballs around and push them down in here. I'll show you this really quick. Hopefully now you can see that. Nothing at rest, nothing's going through, but when you start shooting, they're going, your paintballs are actually going through. Okay? So that right there is going to be your next step up hopper. The nice thing about these, they do not jam. Actually, this one doesn't jam either. These ones will jam, but this one will not jam, so it doesn't need the special other features to it. So that's going to be the first part, and I'll show you those other two hoppers in the second part.